And today I'm so honored and happy to have a very special guest at this podcast, at Günther Fehlinger Podcast. This is the Mayor of Pristina, of the Republic of Kosovo, a great city. Welcome, Mr. Mayor, and congratulations for the re-election just recently. I'm so happy to have you at the show.
Gunther, thank you so much. I'm delighted to be here, and I'm obviously greatly appreciate your time, and of course happy to discuss anything in the podcast here, and very thankful to Austrian nation and the government for everything that has done for us. So I'm delighted that we're going to be speaking about many things today here. So I'm looking forward to our discussion.
First of all, let's speak about you. You personally, you have a very interesting life vita, like the Republic of Kosovo, also full of turbulences. I understand that you basically, as a young child, had basically to flee to the United Kingdom, and that you spent many years successful in the United Kingdom. Can you please explain why you came to the United Kingdom and what you did there?
Well, as a 16-year-old, I left Pristina. I went to London, and as you can imagine, in the 90s, 1992 to be more precise, is the time when I left for London. It was actually, I left there to spend my summer holidays. But as it happened, you know that the war started in Croatia in late 91 and then continued in 92. So the situation in then former Yugoslavia was deteriorating drastically. So it was safer for me as a 16-year-old to stay in London on my own than to come back to Pristina with my parents, with my family. And
so
as a result,
you're one of the generation who basically the families decided to save the sons. You would have had to go to the Yugoslavian army basically on a military basis. And you were safer in the United Kingdom, basically to survive for a new day.
That is correct. So what was happening during that time is that Serbs, as you know, I mean, they controlled the former Yugoslav military and army, and they were bringing young people from non-Serb nations like Albanians and others, and putting them in front line to fight, for example, in Croatia or later on, in Bosnia, and so it was deemed definitely more safer for me to remain in London than to risk of being taken and put in front lines to fight, someone that we had no reason to fight.
Because the Croatians were basically allies, and many in the Albanian parts of Yugoslavia supported the Croatians. So.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, as we've seen, as the history tells us, is that Serbs became the enemies of all. I mean, they initially started, the war in Slovenia. It was very brief, continued with, Croatia and then Bosnia. And then we also know what happened in Kosovo, and thankfully, Montenegro, Macedonia escaped without war. But it is a policy, I guess, from Serbian nationalist politicians that kind of didn't want to give up, relinquish this. The goods that they had in many ways, I mean, the control that they had over every republic in former Yugoslavia. And while everybody was working, the tax was being paid in Belgrade. Belgrade was building, as they were saying. And so different nations didn't see this as a process that they wanted to remain. They wanted obviously some more fairness. And especially in Kosovo during that time, being Albanian in Kosovo, ethnic Albanian in Kosovo, we were treated more like third-class citizens rather than.
It was apartheid style of suppression, basically.
It was probably the same or worse than what happened in South Africa. Same or worse than apartheid, and we had no right to express ourselves freely. Our schools were closed, and we were told either learn about, in Serbian about Serbian history, and in the way they sort of pushed it forward, or or you have no right to go to school. So our schools were closed. I mean, I remember in 1991, 1992, when our school was actually closed off, we had to learn in these private houses, private rooms. People, what they did, they opened up, you know, I mean, we created sort of a parallel system during that time when classrooms were being held in people's living rooms or bedrooms, so different families kind of that were brave enough to open up their house. Then, you know, the students would go to that room, the teacher would come and teach us there, let's say geography. After that, we would have to move from geography to another house somewhere else where we then learned probably mathematics or another topic. And then we had to move again to another house. So we were always on the move and always being scared that the Serbian police, who were actually, you know, our police, the Kosovan police, anybody that was Albanian policemen during those early 90s, they were dismissed. And as I know from now, you know, facts that they kind of released prisoners from Serbian prisons and then put their, you know, police uniforms and you know, send them to Kosovo. So these were basically thieves in uniforms that would stop us and ask us, what do you have in your pockets, and kind of, you know, give me your money. Where did you get this money? Slap us around, take whatever we had. And then we were lucky if they let us go with just that. But
terrible times, terrible times.
It was terrible, unfortunately, terrible times.
The Serbs still have apologized, I think, for all these crimes.
No, they have not, unfortunately, and it was because of obviously the situation like that a lot of young boys, especially, that fled the country. If they could, you know, if they could get hold of a passport, they would leave the country. And during those, you know, times, the early 90s, during the 90s, you know, there's a large number of youngsters that fled, and then also, you know, families and whoever could flee, they did flee.
Mr. Mayor, Përparim Rama, I'm very happy that you escaped, because you came then to the United Kingdom, I understand, at the age of 16. How was it basically alone in a big city, the biggest city of the world, or one of the biggest city, and a young Kosovo school student at 16 in London? How did you live? What was the situation?
Well, I was lucky to have my cousin Iliana. I mean, she had been living in London for about a year and a half prior to me going there, working as a nanny, and so I kind of had her as a guidance initially. But you know, in one side it was difficult. As a 16-year-old, I had to actually find a job, you know, get working in order to support myself. But then later on, once.
Did you work?
Well, I washed dishes. I worked as a waiter. I worked as a bartender. So we had all these different jobs. Initially, you know, I would you know, get a job in a restaurant to wash dishes. I worked for one day and I was told off because I spent too much hot water and I didn't know how to wash dishes.
So it was hard conditions. It was
or in a sandwich bar where, again, as a 16-and-a-half-year-old, it was very warm, very hot, and I would try and make these sandwiches. I got a little bit of a nosebleed, and they said, oh, they were scared. No, you know, you can't work. You know, get out, and then try and find another one. It was, you know, tough times, but then again,
Mr. Mayor, may I ask you, did you have some residence papers?
No, once I applied, I then applied for political asylum. I applied after I decided to stay. I applied for political asylum, and from the process of the application, we were fortunately allowed to work and to get educated. And then we got some social support as well, you know, for some expenses. And so as a result, once I applied for political asylum, it became a lot easier to then, you know, to get educated, to pursue my education, which is what I did. So I started then first in the college and then at university. And so this was, for me, it was a renaissance time, because I was, as a teenager at that time, I was in a developed country, in London, one of the greatest cities on earth, where I was free. I didn't fear for my life. The only thing I needed to do is go to school, get a job and get some extra money to live, or send money back home, because at those times it was difficult times in Kosovo, where both of my parents, one professor in the Academy of Arts and Dean of Faculty of Architecture, my father, and my mother as a teacher, they were both without pay. Like, my father was kicked out of the job. My mother continued teaching, but because she wasn't teaching kids the way we're being pushed in Serbian way, they had no funds, so everything was funded by 3% that diaspora donated to parallel structures in Kosovo, that then funded the teachers and the families to survive. And of course I always had to send money back to ensure that my parents can survive. My sisters...
So you were not a rich kid sent to London to enjoy the studies, but you had to send money back to your parents to be safe.
Exactly. I was not a rich kid, far from it. I remember, as of today, my father had to borrow 3,000 Deutschmarks at that time from my auntie's husband then, which again I said that I would try and get a job, and pay that back, and that was the situation. So not that we didn't have money, we had to kind of get land money, borrow money from our families there, and then pay it back. And then of course I had to, during my studies, I had to also work in order to make additional money, in order to ensure that my family has enough to eat back at home, back in Kosovo.
But I understand that you basically followed the family tradition. Your father was an architect, and famous architect even. And
he was a painter. He was a famous painter. He exhibited with Picasso, with Chagall, with a lot of great painters, Kadrush Rama, and he was also Dean of Faculty of Architecture in Pristina.
So you followed the tradition to be first of all architect in a sense, and then also to be famous.
Well, I guess architecture is a form of art, absolutely. It's the one that kind of combines, I believe, both sides of your brain, the artistic and scientific sides, and I very much, enjoyed studying and working as an architect. So
I understand you have been in Britain before you came back to become the mayor in 2021.
I lived in London for 29 years, and in 2021, I was invited by a friend of mine. I received a call, asking me to run for a mayor, and of course I took that as a joke, because I might practice in
It turned
London.
out not to be.
I said, I have projects all over the world, doing the thing that I love doing. But of course, ever since 1999, since liberation of Kosovo, I've been very active in Pristina as well. I set up my own practice in 2004 in Pristina, in Kosovo. And I've been using that as an excuse to fly back and forth to see my mother. But also I used it as a back office for projects around the world. And so while we had more projects in different parts of the world, the office in Pristina was also growing and helping as a back office, because we were more competitive in the global market as a London-based office together with Kosovan-based. So we would then get a lot of projects in different parts of the world. And when the call came, I took it as a joke initially. But during this period where I was flying back and forth, I was always trying to help previous mayors. I saw many issues with the city and how they could be resolved, how they could be fixed. So I wanted to give everything I knew from a professional point of view, academic point of view, pro bono, for free, to previous mayors. But unfortunately, very little or none of it was happening as a result. So and I was always saying that, yes, I'm trying to help my city, I'm trying to help my country, and so on and so forth. And this was perhaps one of my missions as a 16-year-old. I remember when they used to ask me, where are you from, in London? I would say, I'm from Pristina. And they would say, well, where is Pristina? I say, well, Pristina is in Kosovo. They would say, well, where is Kosovo? And then, of course, since we were occupied, under occupation by Serbs in former Yugoslavia, and like in a country that kind of changed also its name, I said, well, Kosovo is north of Albania. And, geographically that is north of Albania, former Yugoslavia. And so they wouldn't know that either, they didn't even know Albania then. That was kind of a closed dictatorship and so on. So north of Albania, where is Albania in order for this country to be north of Albania? So from there, that was obviously a huge kind of moral hit to me as a youngster. I was someone in this big city, multilingual, multicultural, people from all over the world, people like Americans, Austrians, German, French, Italian, everybody knew of them, but nobody knew where I was from. So I made it my mission to put my city, my country on the map for good, with good projects. Because then it was,
Mr. Mayor, your time in London, you also put forward a Skanderbeg monument, to my information.
I did, absolutely. But that was one of the few things. But we obviously we won many awards for architecture, many awards that were kind of related to Pristina, to Kosovo, for architectural projects. And I think that's the best way to put your country on the maps for good news, for things that are positive, not and to kind of shift away from the war and the negative press that was coming out of Kosovo during the 90s.
You have now big help because I understand that the famous singer from Kosovo, Dua Lipa, she was also with 16 in the UK and made it big time globally, and is now a good help, I think, for your country.
Oh yeah. She's a great ambassador, a great artist, and even before Dua Lipa, we also had Rita Ora. We still have her as well. She kind of broke the ice. And there's many other artists, globally now, like Bebereja and many others that are also sportists that come from Kosovo, from Pristina.
Is there something specific about the British that the Kosovo Albanians are so successful, especially in the United Kingdom?
Is there? Oh well, I think I'm obviously, I will forever be thankful to Britain for giving me the opportunity to get educated and to go to study what I dreamt of, and to make it possible for me to do this. And as a result, of course, I became the person that I dreamt of being, that I wanted to be, and as a result, I wanted to help others. So studying architecture, becoming an architect, and then setting up my own architectural practice, I was able to give back to the country, because I employed many other than architects, construction people, project managers, and so on and so forth. So pay back in terms of tax, in terms of exposure, win projects globally. Again, help the country, even in terms of tax, employment, and so on and so forth, reputation. So I wanted to give back, and I continue, of course, to be thankful to Britain. And what I've learned.
Let me ask you, because in the UK there is a debate about Nigel Farage and some statements against Albanians in the UK, and that's a very sad. What's your message to the British people now that you are a famous public personality of your own country?
Unfortunately, these sort of populist agendas, nationalistic agendas that are being pushed by countries around the world today, we're kind of shifting this towards far right. It's sad because people by default, people that decide to run away from their countries, they have a reason. And the reason is they probably fear for their lives, fear for their families' lives, and they want to be somewhere where they can work, they can secure the future for their kids, for their families, and then give back to that country. The lazy ones, they don't even bother moving. They would stay. It's the ones that have a vision, that see the future for themselves. They want to build a better future, that move. And now you can look back. People that moved in Britain, for example, that were allowed to study, to work. Majority of them are professionals, majority of them have businesses, majority of them pay tax, contribute to the development, to the growth, to the economical growth, artistic growth. Dua Lipa, for example, a global superstar, Rita Ora, the same, a global superstar. Many other businesses, of course, over there that pay tax, that contribute to the economy, are a result of this country being open to these people, saving their lives. And they will forever be thankful, indebted, and work for that country. Just like, again, I continue to do that and build bridges. And of course, I cannot ever forget when I arrived here the stories that I heard also about Austria and about how open you were for our country, for our people, for the youngsters here that had no hope, that you accepted them in universities over there pro bono for free. They were able to fulfill their dreams. Many of them now contribute to your economy over there. A lot of them have moved back to Kosovo, but the bridges between the two countries are stronger than ever as a result of this kindness, of this humanity. And we must never forget, that we are all humans, that in the times of need, we need to take care of one another. And I see, when we are asked to help, that is one huge moment of like a miracle moment, because you are given the opportunity to give, to help. There is no more better feeling, there is no more fulfillment spiritually, soulfully, than when you give and help others.
This is
And when
your
people,
message, Mr. Mayor, to the British people very much. Yeah? You
to
were
the
coming as a dishwasher, 16-year-old. You turned into a mayor and a very successful businessman, architect in the home country also there. And it's something Nigel Farage should listen to, I think, and
I,
treat the
I,
Albanians in the UK better.
I think Nigel Farage should just spend a little bit of time and look back in its own family, its own history, and where they came from. And because everybody in the world, you can find probably very few people that, if you look back, that have not moved. And this is human nature. We move around as long as we understand and recognize that we share the world, that the nations, the borders, they are placed artificially. But in the times of need, we need to understand that we need to, be there for each other, for one another. People need to help people. What is the point of existence if we're not helping one another? So
One
we
person,
cannot,
Mr.
we
Mayor, who
cannot.
helped the Kosovo Albanians especially, it was Dr. Erhard Busek, the great European and the great friend of Kosovo, our Vice Chancellor and Minister of Education, who allowed in the year 92 hundreds, if not thousands, of Kosovo Albanians to study and continue their study and to be mutually recognized in the Graz process. And you recently honored him with your own square in Pristina. Thank you very much for that, Mr. Mayor. Can you describe your motivation behind that kind
Oh,
and noble gesture?
that is the least that we can do as a capital city of Kosovo, and of course that was the initiative of Kosovo Austrian Association, which they came to me with a request. I've heard the story, and the least we could do is take that idea forward and make it a reality, because I do understand that a lot of ideas remain on paper. But from my background as an architect, as an urban planner, as someone that comes from private sector, if we have a project, if we promise something, we need to deliver that. We need to make it into a reality, especially for for our heroes, because Busek, Erhard Busek is our hero, is our country's hero. And that's why I'm obviously feel honored to have had the opportunity to be in a position to select a square, and that is within the university grounds, which links directly with the spirit of what Erhard Busek, Dr. Erhard Busek has done for our youth, for our country. As a result of opening up universities in Austria and accepting our students during those toughest times in our recent history, we today have a lot of professionals, academics, a lot of people that have been able to study, to make their dreams come true, to build their lives, their careers, their businesses, and give back now to communities in Austria as well as in Kosovo and globally.
Mr. Mayor, the Austrian nation is eternally thankful because you're also a very fast man in decision making and very much implementing them, because not even in Vienna, where Dr. Busek was the deputy mayor for many, many decades and a really very important personality, he led us into the European Union. He doesn't have a street or a square up to now, despite many efforts. If you ever meet the mayor of Vienna, maybe you can mention it. Anyhow, I want to thank you very much, because you are really a politician, very untypical politician, because if you promise something, you do it. And that's not always the reputation of politicians. And this is especially very good. You put the Skanderbeg into London, you put Busek into Pristina, really, you do the things. Let me ask you about, because you're just re-elected and you have already transformed the city of Pristina, and I've lived in Pristina, not in your years, but before, for 5 years all over, and I love that city. It's really beautiful, but there's a lot of traffic and a lot of issues with pollution. And in the years now I visit under your leadership, the city has really been greener, cleaner, better organized. Yeah? What's your magic? What's your recipe for other mayors to learn? And is it maybe that you take ideas from all over your work, bring them to Kosovo, and really do things like you did the Skanderbeg, you did the Busek Square? You're simply a doer.
Thank you very much for pointing these out. Well, again, I have left my life in London, with my businesses over there. My wife, my 3 children were born in London. Today, my little one is 4.5. He was 2 months when I left him there with my wife, with his mother, and my 2 other children. One is now 8 and 11, and I then brought them all here. I brought them all here in Pristina, in the promise that I will transform the city. So I am here in Pristina to transform the city. The projects that I have promised to the people, I know they are very doable, because I have an urban planning experience, an architecture experience. I've dealt with far larger projects than the ones that we have proposed and are transforming our city now. They feel massive to the people in Pristina, unfortunately, because no large-scale projects have been carried out since, but now they are. But I have assured them, and I can assure everyone, that the projects that we're doing are doable, and we are continuing to do them. So, I have not called myself a politician because, again, I didn't have an interest in politics. I'm kind of a doer, an architect, an urban planner, but now in a position of a politician as well. And I think you must use, politician by default is a noble function, because as a politician you are there to do for others, to give to others. So I take that noble aspect of a politician to work for others with the experience of private sector to kind of deliver things on time, because a day wasted is not a day wasted just for you as a mayor, but it's a day wasted for 500,000 people here in Kosovo. So we try and deliver things as fast as possible. But of course, during the process, there's a lot of issues that you need to deal with, a lot of unknowns. The key important thing is that you have a vision, you're on a mission, and you don't let anything stop you. You push ahead, no matter what.
You were the guy. And tell me, Mr. Mayor, you were just re-elected. How was the election campaign then for you, and what was the result?
Well, I'm delighted, obviously, to be re-elected as a mayor because 4 years ago, on my first campaign, I did say that our projects are 8-year projects. So I need 8 years, I need 2 terms to transform the city. And I am now re-elected. A majority of Pristina people entrusted me with the position to continue with the large-scale projects that we have started. So we now are in a fantastic position to make the city thrive. So my first 4 years were obviously quite tough because I came from private sector to public sector. I need to learn all about public sector, but also the budget that we had planned, that somebody else had planned, we had to work with. So there was a year wasted and then another year with politics and all that. Now I've learned all that. Now we have everything in our side to push the processes forward. Unfortunately, the one thing that I have not calculated is because coming from private sector, everything makes logical sense. You have a budget, you have the client's requirements, you have a timeline, you have your consultants, your companies that you align, and you push them into, and you move them from A to finish. So everything works logically. Here, we have to take another parameter into account, which is politics. Politics, where decision making does not necessarily follow a logical line. There's some illogical decisions that are made somewhere. It's like House of Cards. They kind of just, destroy everything. So this is something that I've learned, I guess, these 4 years. I'm better prepared, but I don't think you can ever be prepared for these sort of illogical decision-making processes that could just unfold these cards. But I am more optimistic that I'm in a way better condition, and I'm super optimistic that Pristina these next 4 years will thrive, and also as we prepare for Mediterranean Games in 2030, which will be hosted.
2030. That's 5 years from now. So that your term is 4 years, I understand,
4 years.
Mr. Mayor?
Yep,
So to 2029, I hope you will be re-elected again, of course. Yeah, that's
well,
but let's wait with the announcement for that. The point is, where do you see the city in 2029? That's an important year of the European Parliament elections and a lot of decisions. Potentially Albania will be in the EU, Montenegro, maybe Macedonia. So your neighborhood will be the EU, basically. And so the situation, where do you see your city, Pristina, in 2029? What would be your landmark project that you can accomplish, which you can celebrate on this podcast in 2029?
Well, we've had what I've requested from European Union. In May of this year, we started the first workshop to kind of engage cities, local governments directly with EU, with funding and processes, rather than rather than go through central and then local. And the reason why I have requested this, and I hope that we can make it a reality, so we have kind of direct communication from sort of EU offices to local governments, is that this is where the work happens, this is where change happens, this is where work meets people, this is where the problems of the people meet the local politicians, this is where things get done, where life happens.
So you think the EU should have a direct capitals program to focus on Podgorica, Tirana and Pristina directly in order to help your cities in the development concretely?
Absolutely. Otherwise, other things get in the way. Some sort of abstract notions in central government, some kind of problems that may not even be problems, that could stop other processes, like what has happened in Kosovo. We've been under measures for more than 2 years.
That you have to explain a little bit. Under measures means this unjustified effort of the EU to punish Kosovo for unclear what, but you get no money from the EU for this period because they're unhappy with the national government, and the people of Pristina pay the price.
Exactly. I mean, whatever the issues are at central level. Again, you have politicians at central level which are doing things at that level, And if you want to push them or stop them, then you need to have kind of other mechanisms that don't punish people on at the local level. And what has happened, unfortunately, is that they have kind of run unpunished and even kind of look like heroes, whereas we have been indirectly and massively punished by not receiving the funds to do the projects that we promised to the people, the funds that we believed we had because we were told we did have.
And that's money for the sewer system, for the canalization, for the fresh water, for the waste disposal.
Exactly, waste management.
So many important things for the people.
Yeah. Even
they
sort of
should really release these funds.
Inclusive projects, for example, even in arts and culture, like the symphony orchestra, which was part of, we had a fantastic program over there of, bringing in all the communities, kind of using that through culture performance workshops to bring people together, so not deal with those nationalistic red lines, kind of, work at the level that brings everybody together, art, culture, science, education, sports, community build up. So we had, and we still continue to have, but we're still under measures and cannot deliver on these key topics. And as you mentioned, the basics of cleaning the waters, of sewage systems, and so on and so forth, as part of this overall process and program, because of the measures that were.
Hopefully, this will be resolved soon, Mr. Mayor, because as I understand, there are early elections coming up.
Yep, we have the early elections on 28th of December now.
And you're just coming out of elections and you're going into the next elections, basically.
Yep, we have less than 5 weeks now for central government elections.
And after your re-elections as a mayor, you are like one of the most important politicians as well in the national arena. What's your prediction? What's your wish for these national elections? And after this dynamic of your re-elections, what do you hope for the 28th of December to achieve?
Well, I hope that we have change of government and not for anything else. I just had my own personal experience with the current government that unfortunately, has, even though has been elected by the people, has worked against the people. If the whole government has kind of sabotaged and blocked the capital city that provides 49.8% of the budget of the overall country, simply because 49.8% of the budget of Kosovo.
But the national government, which should support you, has blocked you?
Yes, the national government has blocked the capital city, simply because I am not a member of that party. And I think that...
Explain which party are you from?
Well, again, I'm not a member of any party, but I'm backed by LDK, by a Democratic League of Kosovo. I'm back there, have invited me. They backed me during the process. I've been very clear that I'm interested to help in transforming the city, and they have backed me again, so we're together with LDK.
And that's the center right-wing party, which is part of the European People's Party and the European Party spectrum.
That is correct, yes.
And the national level is a center left-wing party with Vetëvendosje, Albin Kurti.
Well, they call themselves center-left. I mean, they're really very far left. Or even, I don't even call them a political party. They're more like a sect, more like a cult that rely on one person, and all the decisions are made by this one person. Otherwise, what they've done or what they're doing would make no sense to try and sabotage and boycott and block a capital city simply because it's not under their management is insane. And again, the projects that we have now pushed forward that we won with, they were on their program as well. And the Prime Minister said as soon as we win Pristina as well, we will continue with these projects. So he obviously understands how important they are, but he will only push them if his party wins.
That's very egocentric.
I think it's very egocentric. That does not it's a party and a person that does not think about the people but himself or themselves. And I hope that the country will reflect, will learn from these experiences, and will vote. Center right will vote LDK. Will vote people that truly are pro-growth, pro-development, and they are there for all people. You know, as I said, the moment I took my position, I don't see people through party lenses. You know, I work as a mayor for all. I bring all the parties together to work together for the benefit of all. And I saw that, you know, this should have been the way that Prime Minister, whoever is in charge, should work. That the ministers, whoever they're in charge, should work. They should work for the benefit of people, not the benefit of their own party. Unfortunately, this government now that is in charge, not elected yet, that is in charge, has continued to work for the party only and party people for the 4 years, even though they came to power fighting that. You know, they came to power saying that we are here for all people. But what they've shown is that they're worse than whatever has happened in years before them. And
Who you endorse for the next Prime Minister of Kosovo?
Pardon?
Who you endorse? Who you hope?
Oh,
that
I
will be
endorse,
next?
of course, I endorse the LDK leader, Dr. Lumir Abdixhiku. He's a young guy, and I think he's got a lot of potential, you know, to become prime minister. And of course, we also have signed a contract during the previous campaign in February, where I made him sign 1.5 billion euro agreement to invest in the capital city.
Well, very good.
I want him to win and invest that money in the capital city because, again, there's a lot to be done. Capital city deserves it because, as I said, 50% of the budget of the capital city, or 50% of the country's budget is provided by the businesses and people that live in the capital city. So we cannot be treated like other municipalities. We are the capital city, and therefore we should be prioritized and work together. Of course, you know, capital city with central government should work together. And of course, I wish Kosovo, our country, peaceful and democratic elections. And whoever wins, may the one that deserves it win. But whoever wins, they should work very closely together with the capital city. And I hold no grudges. Whoever will win, I will work with them for the benefit of Kosovo, for the benefit of the capital city, for the benefit of all people.
But it would make a lot of sense to have some kind of unity in the party system and a very good prime minister who is supporting Pristina's development that would unleash a lot of funds and a lot of opportunities, a lot of investments, and very good for years to come.
Yes, and someone that understands that that the country needs to invest, that the country needs to grow, to develop, that actually spending the funds on projects is not wasting them, it's investment. You know, every €1 spent today will be worth, you know, 5, 10 euros tomorrow. But every €1 saved today will be worth 0.7 or less cents tomorrow. And this government doesn't seem to understand that. You know, they kind of they kind of not spending it, they're saving it. They're not doing anything. You know, they're kind of talking about this sort of fund that they should save money, while the city, the people are paying tax to make their everyday life better, not to leave it here in the bank and to devalue you know, the savings. So I hope, you know, someone that understands growth, understands development, that is pro-Europe, pro-West, you know, that works well with our partners, with people that have helped us during the war, with the people that have helped us liberate ourselves, you know, with our international partners, with US, with the European Union, to come together and forge our future together, forward, inclusive of all people, of course.
Mr. Mayor, you are also a national figure. If I can ask you some foreign policy questions as well, because this podcast very much is about NATO and EU membership, and I'm very much keen supporter of NATO membership of Kosovo and of EU membership. I would like to ask you, what's your opinion? Do you want to see Kosovo, the Republic, into NATO and the European Union?
Yesterday.
So fast.
Of course, absolutely. We have to be part of NATO. I mean, we should be, as I said yesterday. It's every day is too late for us to be in NATO. So we should have already been in. I would do everything possible within my own remit as a mayor of the capital city to help the country become part of NATO, but also not only NATO, part of European Union. If you come to Kosovo, if you come to Pristina, you will already see that we are Europeans, we live like Europeans, our culture is very European. In Pristina, you will feel like you're in any city around Europe. So in many ways, we can probably show leadership in some aspects. We can learn a lot on many other aspects from other European countries, but that's who we are today. Of course, I'm very much looking forward to.
Mr. Mayor, as a last question, still, let me ask you about the tourism aspect, because many international tourists might never have been to Pristina, and I'm now living in Vienna. I compete a lot, of course, now for tourism. I tell everybody come to Vienna. But is it worth going to Pristina? Are tourists coming? Do you have a Christmas market now in December, for example? And what's your talk on tourism and Pristina?
Well, since 2021, so for the past 4 years, every year on year, we've had increase on tourism industry, 35, 34. This last year, 40% increase in tourists coming to Pristina, coming to Kosovo. And everyone that has arrived in Pristina, they are pleasantly surprised, positively pleasantly surprised, how fantastic it is and what a great time they can have in Pristina. Especially now, Christmas is coming. We last year had one of the best Christmas markets in the whole of Europe, and we are aiming, of course, to compete this year as well. And we're already getting ready for it. So it is very easy, very cheap to fly to Pristina from Austria or from any other countries around Europe. So we welcome you all, and I guarantee you that you'll have a fantastic time. You'll have great food, great drinks, great parties, great events, art and culture. It's a city of youth, a thriving city, very welcoming, very multilingual, very hospitable. So as you know, Gunther, and so please do come and let's celebrate together.
And that's a very kind invitation. You heard it here first. Pristina, the capital of the Republic of Kosovo, a very competent and very sympathetic and very European mayor. The city is now in safe hands for the next 4 years, in competent hands. And you will transform this city in this capital of a European Union member state, of a NATO ally in the next 4 years. We are very honored. I'm very happy that we had the opportunity to talk to you here at the end of at a very special week, actually, because it's the Albanian National Day. I think on the 28th is the special day. So I'm happy that you took this day and this week you took time for this talk. And I thank you very much again for coming. Thank you and congratulations for the re-election. And please transform Pristina, and everybody who listened. Please visit this wonderful city and support Kosovo's way to the NATO, to EU, and the Euro they have already successfully since 20 years, more than 20 years. It's a wonderful place. I've lived there 5 happy years, very friendly place. Please visit Pristina. And thanks a lot, Mr. Mayor, for this opportunity to talk to you, and congratulations for the re-election.
Gunther, thank you very much. Thank you very much for everything that you've done and for everything that you continue to do for the capital city, for Kosovo in general. We are very thankful to you and all the listeners here, all the watchers, all the people that are watching us. We would, of course, be delighted to have you in Pristina. Do come, join us, have fun, and let's celebrate life together. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Very good. Thanks a lot. All the best.
Cheers. All the best.